Erica should be dragged into a police precinct.
So I was supposed to be done recording for the day. And then I made the mistake of spending a little too much time on X when I was going through some content that I was compiling for my short form videos. And in the sequence of these activities, I came across probably my breaking point when it comes to cockroach Candace. Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and play this through. It's about 1 minute and 12 seconds. I'm not even going to give any context. I'm just going to go ahead and play it through. And then we will reconvene on the other side. So let's go ahead.
Erica Kirk has been named the new CEO of Turning Point USA.
My husband's dead. I'm not trying to be morbid, but he's dead.
It's weird to say excited.
Describes her husband's funeral as the event of the century. Merch, hats.
We have 50,000 plus hat orders.
Nobody knows why she's out there in a glittering pantsuit in a recreated tent that her husband tragically was murdered in, throwing merch out.
Everyone grieves differently, so if someone's acting weird, don't read into that.
Zionists, the Prime Minister of Israel, all lied through their teeth about Charlie Kirk.
Her operation was in Constanta, the epicenter of Romania's trafficking scandal.
We heard conversations to have with a 15-year-old. I'm going to touch your butt.
$8.6 million to their own shell company. What is going on?
We have nothing to hide. My aunt used to tell me, never do something that you don't want on the front page of a newspaper.
Okay. Almost a year and a half ago, I put out my very first video titled Candace ... I'm disappointed. And that was the very first video where I publicly critiqued Candace Owens, or the entity formerly known as Candace Owens. And upon posting that video, I received a multitude of less than positive messages from people who used to watch me relatively frequently at the time, right? People I see pop up in my comment section, etc., for quite a while, were all of a sudden offended. I didn't understand that there was this formation of what I later coined as the cult of Candace Owens. At that point, I just thought that this was a fair critique, right? Why is this person not calling out the likes of a Kanye West, who was once again completely crashing out? Why is this person not calling out Andrew Tate? I mean, this is the very same person who claims to be about conservative values, and, young men are being exposed to certain types of content, degenerate content that is ruining them. But at the same time, you have an affiliate, if not a family friend, if not a personal friendship with somebody who is not only involved in that world, but is in the business. I was confused. And at that time, obviously, I did not know what I know now. And so it has been a journey, to say the least. And it has been encouraging to me on this standpoint. Most people seemingly have gotten to the point where they realize just how demonic, which is a word I used a long time ago when I started seeing this thing for what it was. And there were folks before me who were seeing it. And obviously, I just wasn't willing to see what I wasn't willing to see yet, just like most other people who have even the slight bit of decency in them. Just, you have to have a fractal of decency to be an infinitely better human being than Candace Owens. So, yeah, it has been a journey. Multitudes of people have woken up, but there are still enough entities on this planet that are willing to tune in to this devil's game, the devil's show. I view the demonic realm as all congregating on one thing. Like, I believe there's always infighting and things of that nature taking place within the demonic, within the evil, because they can't even trust each other, right? They are darkness incarnated. And so I can see them getting together, and the one thing they do together is watch this show. That's the one thing they have in common. They watch this show. Now, before Charlie was assassinated, I'd already drawn the conclusion that this woman is off her rockers. She is out of her mind, likely some form of schizophrenia, etc., right? And I was referring to the things that she was doing as evil, but a lot of my sentiment was to simply pray for her. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that anybody is beyond God's reach. But there is a certain point where people go when they are given over to the point where God says, you know what? Let me go ahead and just lift my hand off of this situation. And for folks who don't think that that is biblically accurate, I would suggest actually reading about the true living God, who will most definitely not only chastise those he loves, but he will punish his enemies. And he will make sure there is complete retribution for those who are his adversaries. And if you're not with him, then you're against him. That's the true God, right? We want the airy-fairy pocket version of God where we carry him around and we use him like some sort of genie or whatever. No, the true living God hates evil. He hates darkness. He sees it as an abomination when somebody lies, let alone is a liar. As a matter of fact, one of the most popular or famous descriptions of Satan, or the Satan, Lucifer, is the father of lies, along with the accuser of the brethren. Interesting how a lot of these classifications or these characteristics would directly correspond with this given entity that has taken over a young woman who went by the name of Candace Owens, formerly known as Candace Owens. That person is long gone. So I see this clip surface and I see it's going viral, and I'm hoping it's not what I think it is, which obviously we've gone through it now, so we know exactly what it is. This is the same woman who claimed that the only people who could get her to stop using Charlie Kirk's death as a means to siphon narcissistic supply, or in her words, I'll only stop talking about this or investigating if one of two people says something. Number one is her husband, who blink twice if you're still alive, George. We haven't seen him around in a while, so pray for him. Pray for the babies. Always pray for the babies. Those children are helpless. They're not making a decision in this. Pray for the babies. Pray for the babysitter, whoever's raising those children, and pray for George a little bit. Because if he's not knowing what's going on right now, then again, blink twice. Brother might be in the basement. I digress. So she states that either her husband or Charlie Kirk's widow, i.e. Erica Kirk, those are the only two people who can get her to shut her mouth. Now we fast forward maybe 2.5, 3 months later, and finally we get a stop it from Erica. A couple versions of stop it. And the very thing that I called, not because I'm a genius, but because psychopaths operate in the same way, right? These malignant narcissists always operate in this way. I knew without a shadow of a doubt that if Erica tries to engage with Candace as a regular human being and not as the demonic, the one that she has been taught about, hopefully in her church and hopefully in her word that she, I pray, is steeped in, especially right now more than ever before. As far as spiritual warfare, to understand that you're not dealing with that person there who simply wants to talk or just wants to understand. No, you're dealing with somebody who has fully given themselves over to the demonic. And I've used that word demonic from the beginning, and there's a reason for it. It's because it's the only word that describes what is going on. It is not a psychological phenomenon. It is not merely somebody who is a grifter, right? Some folks are still hung up on, she's doing this for money. This has nothing to do with money. The malignant narcissist operates in the currency of attention, or more specifically, siphoning people's energy, their life force. They want your life. They want everything. They want all of you. And if they can't have you, they will destroy you. I'm telling y'all this from experience. A narcissist will look to destroy you. And from the day that I heard that Erica was going to meet with this entity behind closed doors, I knew that that was the beginning of the end. I knew it. Again, not because I'm a genius, but because you can calculate this. If the devil is one who steals, kills, and destroys, what is he going to do in this given situation? Steal, kill, and destroy. Now, I put out a couple videos at the time, and I'm not thinking Erica will ever say anything I do. I'll be honest. Sometimes people be like, oh, this person knows your content. I'm like, I'm just in a room most of the time. I have no idea who knows what, but more power to you. I appreciate you. Thank you. But I put out a message that I would say if I knew her personally, because it's one thing when you expose the evil and that's it, but you also have to consider the people that are being most affected. And she was one of those individuals, right? The babies are too young right now to understand what's going on really. And so there will come a time when this trauma, unfortunately, will probably have to become their own. Unless God decides to fully deal with this entity, because he'll use even the evil to wake up the rest of us. He'll use it, right? God does not create evil. He is not evil in himself. There is no evil. There's no darkness in him. There's only light. But he will use evil for the sake and the purpose of good. He used the fact that Joseph's brothers were filled with deceit and murder and jealousy and envy, and they wanted to eradicate this thing that was triggering them to the maximum. And God used that to even bless them and their father and the rest of their lineages. I mean, just think about this. All the children of Israel, every single one of the 12 tribes is one of those brothers who turned in their own brother, except for Benjamin. Benjamin wasn't involved. He couldn't help it. He was a baby. But the rest of them, including Judah, but yet God still used them for his greater good and his purpose and continues to do so. So I believe that even this entity right now that is currently occupying a woman once known as Candace, was later known as Cuckoo Candace or Conspiracy Candace, and is now known as Cockroach Candace, because the only way that you can get rid of a cockroach is light. You have to place it under a specter of light. You have to dang near flood the room in order for that thing to scurry out and for you to realize, wait a minute, I got roaches in here. I got roaches in here. Yeah, we got roaches in here, folks. So my final address is really to the ones who are left. There are still some who are in defense of, and there's people on both sides of, the gender spectrum, AKA there's only two genders. There's men, there's women. And I believe in some cases they're there for different reasons, as well as some shared reasons. For example, there are the busybodies, right? As Paul would say in Thessalonians, there are those who are genuinely just busybodies. They're in everybody's business. They can't be content in their own home. These are the gossips, the slanderers. They want the tasty morsels. Ooh, what drama do we have here? And usually these are the most chaotic people you will ever meet. These are the people with the messy house who will walk up in your house and look for what is out of order in order to feel better about themselves. That's who we're talking about. That's candidate number one, the busybody, the messy individual. And that person is hard to reach because they're so self-righteous and so self-deluded. They believe themselves to be justified in what they're doing. They justify their sin of slander and bearing false witness and tale bearing and lying and deceiving and conniving and manipulating. Dang near witchcraft. Then you have those who are given over to conspiracy, right? Do not join those who merely call all things conspiracy. Don't call things conspiracy just because everybody else calls it conspiracy. That's scripture for you. You need to separate yourself from them individuals. I tell you right now. Because those people are on the edge of psychosis usually, right? I know. I used to be on the dope, and it takes you over that edge, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a world where you're enraptured by paranoia is really what it is. Paranoid individuals who think everything's a conspiracy. And I'm not saying that we don't all hold some conspiracies and that there might not even a lot of them that are actually true. But what I'm talking about are those who see the entire world as suspicious. And this is something that a narcissist would feed into because most of them have this tendency themselves. They believe everybody else is manipulating because they are. It's projection, right? So these people, I believe, are dangerous for a few different reasons. Even your own personal safety could be in danger. This is a person who could, again, fall onto the other side. These people need to be medicated. And in some cases, they need deliverance. Maybe in many cases, they need deliverance from whatever has occupied that entity or that person right there, the entity that now lives within them. So you got those. And then you have those whose hearts are simply filled with hatred. And that's why with Candace, there is a connection with Jew hatred, because as ancient as it is as trendy and as today as it was back in the time of Haman, right? It's as ancient, or I guess predating as it is in ancient Egypt, as it is today on Nick Fuentes' podcast or Anna Luciferian or one of these sort of other entities. This is something that we will find in most of the remnants of this audience. And these two, again, these are people filled with hatred, filled with anger. There's a guy by the name of Stu Peters. I believe it's Peters, yeah. And, well, this guy looks like a raging alcoholic. He looks like somebody who's completely unhinged. And if he's suffering from alcoholism, I say, get the help you need, get whatever it is necessary to get yourself in the right place. But he wears a cross and he proclaims Christ, but then every episode is about, the evil cabal of Jews. And how now Erica Kirk was the one responsible for taking her husband's life. Yeah, that's the Christian. And he's, yelling it frantically and losing his life. I mean, you got the vein here popping in 4K, right? What is it, like 2,100 and something megapixels? Just a vein just popping out of the head. And that's a dangerous person. And we're actually told to stay away from such people, right? Do not keep the company of angry men. I believe that's Proverbs. Do not keep the company of angry men. Stay away from the busybody. Don't be one. If you're somebody who's going to watch this outside of investigation and genuinely breaking down this lunacy and exposing the darkness, if it's not for that purpose and you're watching it to be entertained, you probably have one of these spirits in you. I'm just going to tell you that right now. And you need prayer, and you need to repent. You need to get on your knees and apologize to your creator for indulging in such darkness and wickedness. If this is stuff that you're indulging in and that you're into, this is dark. This is twisted. This is evil. And the spirit of it is just as evil as likely the presentation of whatever is going to be shown. Think about this. Charlie is killed. The next 3 months is this woman pretending to care so much that she uses this as a means to get attention and power for herself. Charlie's widow, in the process of grieving her husband who was killed, is now having to speak up in opposition to somebody who she should not have to be dealing with at all. And that individual says, well, if she just addresses me straightforward, she calls me out, I'll stop. She gets called out and almost immediately after uses that as a gateway to not just double down, but to go all out. This is the sort of individual who will look to completely destroy your entire world. You need to stay away from not just these people, but everything about them. Whatever they spew into this world, you need to disconnect yourself. It's the same way with all this Hollyweird nonsense. You got dark, depraved things that are being shown, and you would never dare show your children. Why would you show your children this nonsense? Why would you create busybodies out of your babies? Maybe you need to eradicate that spirit of gossip and slander within your own heart, like all of us do at some point at least, right? And to some extent, you might not be the gossip of gossips, but there's a tendency in that sin nature to want to just bring somebody else down for the sake of us feeling better about ourselves. That's all we want. We want the satisfaction of hiding our own darkness behind, well, did you see what she's doing, what she's got going on? That's all this is. Again, to that first group, they can never settle. They can never sit down at the house. They got a baby who's got a soccer meet, and they're about to miss a soccer meet because they're sipping on wine, right, or a wine cooler. They're eating cheese and crackers. They got their feet like in a one of them little sits like this to the side. They're sitting on the couch like this, like a little mermaid, and they're tuning in to more vileness to feed and satiate that demon in them. And then, as I stated, you've got another group of those who are unhinged and they're on the edge. And then, of course, you have those who are just filled with hatred, filled with disdain, want to see the world burn as it is, steal, kill, and destroy. And so, pray for those babies, because I'm talking about Charlie's babies and Erica's babies, as well as Candace's babies. Pray for those babies twice as much, because a person who is like this has no end. There is nothing they won't do to satisfy their sick fantasies. There's no place they will not go in order to satiate that need for power. This is inherently Lucifer. This is him. His spirit is one that is never satisfied. It wants more and more. I will exalt myself and I will raise myself into the midst of the congregation. I will be like God. Anybody around you who's got that spirit, you need to distance yourself. And I'm not the one not nowadays to say you need to cut ties with certain people, etc. But I'm saying that right now. If you got people around you with the spirit, talk to them, love on them. And if they're continuing, they're showing you what's in them. And I promise you, if you spend enough time with these folks, that thing will start to penetrate into your own spirit. I've seen it happen a multitude of times. Those who are not willing to be repentant or to, be corrected or whatever it is, absolutely not. So the last people I can really speak to are those people, the ones who may be salvageable, like the ones who may wake up to this and realize, wait a minute, this is so dark. This is unbelievably twisted and vile, which a lot of people are. And that's a beautiful thing. But for everybody else, I say that I know you got your auntie and you're this one, you're that one. They might be your kid, right? Your adult child. If it's your young child, you need to really be stewarding that child and making sure that the Spirit of God is in that child. And making sure that, you can't force nobody to accept the Lord, but you need to make sure that you are praying in your household and you are steadfast in that prayer. I ran from Christ. I ran from the home. I did a whole bunch of stuff and I came back because there was a solid foundation that I could come back to. There was something instilled there, right? I was raised up in the ways of the Lord, and therefore I found my way back home. Make sure that that is an option if this is somebody younger. If it's somebody who's grown, consult them, talk to them as much as you can if you can. But there's a certain extent to where this person is simply choosing to be given over. And we're now in an age and an era in the final of the final countdown, in the latter of the latter days. We are now in the end. And as things wrap up, there's going to be greater deceit. There is going to be more of this divide. This is not an unnatural thing. This is what God told us would happen. That men will grow cold, right? Men will become lovers of themselves, conceited, self-righteous, haughty. It's not saying that this never existed. As a matter of fact, there's a comparison to the time of Noah. Men will, and not just men and women, you can essentially interchange, but meaning mankind will become ruthless, without love, without natural affection, even for their own children, let alone another person. let alone somebody who, like Candace might have envied because she wanted that position for her own power's sake. And so we have to be awake, vigilant. And I felt convicted because though I've been avoiding this woman like the plague as of recent, I'll be honest, if I run into her and some's on my heart, then so be it. But right now I felt the desire to do so because there was a need to do so. They were connected. Sometimes I have no desire. I'm like, no, no, no. And then God says, yes, yes, yes. This time around, I had a desire. I said, oh, it's there now. Okay, let's go ahead. Somebody may at some point run into this video and they're in that in between. And maybe this might be the video that goes, wait a minute. There's a point to this. Let me look a little deeper. Let me investigate this from the outside, not as a sycophant, not as somebody who's been given over to this entity, but as somebody who is willing to see things clearly. Maybe you don't right now, but you're willing to. That's all you need, a willingness, and God will work with that. Even in the midst of darkness, God will work with the willingness to see. And so I pray that for y'all because it's getting darker and darker. And she is just a byproduct of the ever increasing darkness in our world before the coming back of Messiah. She is nothing more than an offshoot, a branch, right? Oh, it's a very public and evident branch that we're all getting to see in 4K, but it is a symptom. She is a symptom nonetheless. And if you cannot overcome this level of deception, you're probably cooked. You're probably cooked. For what's to come, it's just getting started. So stay rooted in the word of God, period. Stay prayed up. Make sure your mind is fixed on those things that are of God and not the things of this world, not the carnality of this world system. Do not love the world, because if you love the world, then the love of the Father is not in you. Do not love the world, the system of the world. Love the earth, love all that God has made, but he doesn't run the system that is currently in place. We're told that in, I believe, 1 John. Who runs this thing? Whose system is this? This is not. Okay. If you don't believe me, go ahead to the temptation after Christ's 40-day fast. When Lucifer says, I will give you all of this if you bow to me. Why is it that Yeshua did not say, oh, you can't give this, it's not yours? Right? Instead, he said, no. Nah. Nope. What does it gain a man to gain the world? Or what does it profit a man to gain the world and to lose his own soul? It was his system to give. It was his world to give for this time, for a time, a short time. In our perspective, everything's taking so long, right? We can't wait 5 years, let alone 5,000, 6,000 years. But to God, that is, what is time to an infinite being? What is time to one who is outside of time and space, the creator of time and space itself? So, again, I urge y'all, I don't know what God you are praying to. I don't know, but you better get right with the true living one, because things are going to get real murky. Real murky, real fast. And there are going to be people who watch this and they're going to be so given over and they're going to be consuming the tasty morsels. They're going to be into it. They're going to be all the way into it, sharing it with their loved ones, trying to push and urge people, trying to push this narrative, while leftists run the street and literally execute more Charlie Kirks or attempt to kill more Charlie Kirks on a daily basis. There's going to be this shift of focus. So pray. Stay in this word. Keep that relationship as priority, because there's nothing that this world is going to offer you that is going to satisfy, and there's nothing that's going to save you. I promise you that. You're not going to save you. I know they told you that. They told me that. I thought I was going to save me. I'm not going to save me. There's only one who saves, and I pray that you get acquainted with him, because once again, it's going to get dark. Till the next time, peace. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
Who are you praying to? In quiet times, the one you are relent to. When seeking higher guidance, hard to mind or where to. Who are you praying to? Is a God or image? Who's that one? Love, find your limit.